Hey everybody, welcome back for this next installment of my little dream series that I'm putting together here for you. This one's going to be an interesting one. This one focuses on the Angelic Demonic realm, and what I'm going to do is share a couple dreams with you guys that I've had recently, but then a couple testimonies as well of some things that have actually happened to me that have occurred in my life that kind of orbit around this stuff too. So with that, I'll get right into it. I don't want this to be a super long video here, so I'll try and make it brief for you. So the first one involves I was taken again to in a dream. I was taken again to this some kind of underground base or lab or something, dark undertones, a lot of technology and whatnot. But I was put into this chamber, or shown this chamber or something, and then this creature, I was shown this creature, and it couldn't harm me, but I was allowed to see this thing, and this thing, it was hideous. Like you could probably call this a nightmare, this dream, like all the different things that happened in this, but it was just the insane presence of evil that I was allowed to feel in viewing this thing. And this thing, it was walking towards me, and I didn't feel threatened per se, but I was still allowed to sense and feel the presence of just the evil ugliness of this thing. And if you guys have ever, I used to watch those Resident Evil movies. I was a big fan of the games and stuff like that before I was born again. And I'll put a picture up here to kind of give you an idea of what this thing kind of looked like. It kind of looked like that. The mouth was, the mouth was kind of similar and whatnot, but it looked way more hideous than this thing. And just like the way it was breathing and whatnot. And, again, what I woke up with was just kind of like the awareness of like just what could be coming, things that are being prepared. In scripture, it says men's hearts will fail them for fear of what's coming upon the earth, and that was a very heavy undertone to this dream. Just all of the evil that I was shown, just different types of creatures and whatnot. But this thing in particular, it was terrible. So definitely nothing that anyone would be interested in seeing with their own eyes. But the second one that I had, I was praying on some things that are going on recently in my life, and this was interesting. So with this one, I was taken into, or I went into this back room, and it was in a building, kind of a broken down building and whatnot, and I go into open up this old kind of creaky door and whatnot, and it's in this back room, right? There's a gentleman laying on the floor, Caucasian gentleman, bald. I didn't perceive it to be me, but it was, anyway, that's what he looked like. He was laying on the floor, still, on his back, and there was a number of people around him, men and women, different races, what I perceived and whatnot, kneeling on the floor. I don't know, 5, 6 of them maybe. They're kneeling on the floor around him, and he had kind of this cauldron on his kind of chest and abdomen area. It was maybe 18 inches in diameter, and it was very shallow cauldron, whatnot. And there was like kind of this green sort of I don't know, material or substance or what have you within it. And these people started chanting something or incantation or something over this man, and all of a sudden this green substance or whatever it was, it becomes inflamed, and it not only consumes the entire cauldron, but it starts consuming the man, and this fire is rising up from this cauldron, and they all bend over and stick so they're on their knees, and they bend over and they stick their heads in this fire as it's rising up. And the the man is writhing, and what I sensed was his life was being sucked out of him. His life force, if you will, was being taken from him, and they were drawing off of that. And one gentleman in particular, I remember just the one, he brought his head up and he had like this black, like, I don't know, like this black like substance or goo or whatever it was that was covering his face, and he peeled it off, and his face had a like, so he peeled this stuff off, right? And you know when people get like facials, they put that, like, I've never gotten, but when people get facials, they get the mask or whatever, and they take it off, and their face is shiny and kind of moist and new. That's what his face looked like. This gentleman had a kind of medium length, kind of black hair, and he looked Native American, had Native American features in appearance. And so he pulls this off, this black stuff off after he comes up out of the fire, and he looks at me, and he has the most like sinister grin, and as he's staring right at me, right? This Native American looking individual, very light complected, but he pulls this off, and it's like he's got a new life force, or like he took the life out of this gentleman, and his face appeared refreshed or whatnot, but he had a very, very evil, sinister grin on his face. So that was very interesting to see that. I think just we need to be cognizant of, just things that are going on in the world, and we need to be on guard, be ready to fight the spiritual battle, and just be going to the Lord, with everything that you're experiencing, and just be ready to have that spiritual armor on. Okay, so next, real quick, after that one, I want to share another one. So this is a dream that segued into my actual life. So real quick, what happened with this one was found myself out in space, kind of in near proximity to a planet or something, right? But I was just out there, free floating, could fly and everything. And I noticed there was a being way out in the distance, and it was dark. And it turned around and it looked at me, and then it took off. Like, it didn't want to be by me, it just took off. But it was dark, so I start chasing this thing. I felt compelled to go chase it. So I take off after it, and I'm chasing it, and we're flying all the way around, and I'm closing on it, right? And then suddenly this thing, it whips around, right, and faces me, and stops dead and faces me, and then it sticks its head out, sticks its hand out, and then like in like a choking fashion, and grabs me. Like as I'm flying up to it, it grabs me, and then like this thing, like it was totally black, totally dark, like, and just like it had the most. It was like a black hole of life. What this thing felt like, right? And like it grabbed me, right? And in that instant, I woke from sleep, and I kid you not, I was paralyzed. I was paralyzed for about, I don't know, 5 to 10 seconds maybe. I was wide awake, laying in bed, and I remember like gasping for air, just like, and I was completely paralyzed, could not move for like 5 to 10 seconds. I wasn't afraid or anything like that, but this thing, like it touched me through that realm, into this reality. And I woke up, and I was paralyzed. I couldn't move. Just kind of a takeaway there that, this is real, and these things cross over into our actual lives as well. Like, this actually happened to me. So I recognize I've got a lot to learn about this kind of stuff, but just again, another need for spiritual warfare, to be known how to fight. And then kind of lastly, on the demonic side, just a quick testimony. So this actually happened. This was before I was born again, many years ago. Had an encounter. So the town that I went to college in was downtown, and after the bars closed, was invited to go to a friend's apartment who lived near downtown. I won't say any names or anything. So this friend had another friend who I hadn't met before who was there as well. So we went up to his apartment, and we were just kind of hanging out and doing some more partying and whatnot, just the three of us, just visiting, you know. And anyway, so we're hanging out, having a good time, and then I go to my friend, the one that I knew, and I asked him, you know, in my drunken high state, you know, I asked him, I'm like, you ever talk to Jesus, man? And then he looked at me and he's like, no, not really, man, no. And I start like sharing Jesus with him, and his other little friend flipped out. Like, he flipped out. Like, the instant I said Jesus' name, he flipped out. And this guy like spun around and he stared at me. He stared at me, and he like on a dime, right? And he starts coming closer to me. And his eyes are like big as silver dollars, right? And he is just like looking right through me. Like, I tell, like something shifted. Like, I was making small talk with this guy, and we were laughing, joking, and whatnot, you know, for like, I don't know, 20 minutes or so before that, and it was fine. But this dude's demeanor like instantly changed. Like, something was in him. And then he comes and he sits down next to me, and he's like stone silent, right? And his eyes are as wide as silver dollars, and he is like staring at me. And I'm like, dude, I'm sorry, did I offend you or whatnot, you know? And he wouldn't say anything. And my friend was looking at his friend, who he'd known for a long time, and it was like he didn't even know him. Like, he'd never seen him act this way. And he was asking like, what are you doing? Are you okay? What's wrong? And he was unresponsive. He was just locked in on me. And it was like, he was like, there was something in him looking at me, like trying to figure out what I was. Because I had this, like, I was living in sin. You know, we were downtown drinking. We came up and we were smoking marijuana, and like, so I was like, you know, suddenly this dude starts talking about Jesus, right? And then like, so it's like something in him was confused and then very concerned and worried, and was like just locked in. And he was looking right through me. I've never to this day seen that before. And then this sense of like just this demonic presence just settled into the room. And like, when that happened, my younger brother called, and he came downtown to join us. So I answer the phone, okay, and I run downstairs without my shoes on. This is wintertime. I run out of the apartment building, go down and get him, come back. The door's locked, right? And I can't get back in. And despite all my attempts, I'm not able to get back in. I don't have my friend's number. So we just left. And I left my shoes there. And to this day, what the Lord shared with me was that he was getting me out of a situation that I was not prepared for. Like, something was going to happen. But my shoes were left there as a sign to my friend to remember this conversation. So but that was a total, like, real life person possession, I don't know, perhaps a demon in human form, demonic experience that I will never forget. That was pretty freaky. More details on that, but this video is already getting long. But lastly, what I'll share is more on the angelic side. One with my wife and I, I've had so many dreams and so many confirmations of the amazing things that God's doing in my wife's life. And we were on a train, and it was super dark, and there were like all these people in there, and these demons were trying to like get through the different cars, right? And then like my wife and I were standing between them and the people, and they were coming forward, and it's super dark, right? And then like my wife and I, like, we start praising God, and like in this darkness, both of us, like, light crosses illuminate on us. And these things, like these demons, all of a sudden stop, and they start freaking out and trying to get back to the other end of the train cars, and they're like trying to get out of the cars and everything, crawl out the windows and whatnot. And my wife and I were both standing there together, and they're like, angelic, there's an angel by each one of us. And these crosses illuminate and start filling the car more as we're praising the Lord. And it was just amazing. Just the power of light over darkness. So again, a lot more dreams I could share with my wife and I in terms of what the Lord has done in our life. One, I will link one. I would encourage you guys to watch it. It's a video I posted before with her and I, and how Jesus came to us and pulled us out of the darkness, literally. So thanks a lot, guys. Until the next one. See ya.